Welcome. Nice to see you. Um, you may notice that I am not George Donald. my name is Ashley, and I am a coach, an ICF PCC certified coach, and my doctoral research is in personal transformation of people with diagnoses and disabilities. And I welcome all people of all abilities that I coach. And I bring my background in marketing and being a mom to, raising two boys and being an executive person in the workplace to, really living an effective, satisfied life. So welcome.
Great to have you here, Ashley. I'm so glad you can come today.
Yeah. So I think we should wait a few more minutes until our official start time.
Yeah.
Charles, I'd love to hear, I've never met you. I would love to hear a little bit about who you are.
Just real quick, I work at FedEx, actually as a package handler, so in Cleveland, Ohio. So yeah, thank you.
Nice
these are really great meetings. So
great.
So you're a frontline worker, right?
Correct.
Yeah, we're doing, one of my doctoral students is doing a study of frontline workers, their essential functions, and also ways that they are or are not fully empowered. So it's an interesting dilemma, an issue, an area. So I'd actually be kind of curious to hear what your experience is around that as well, in terms of the kind of sort of to what degree do you feel empowered as a frontline worker by the management, and to what degree do you feel like they support your growth and development in that role? Do you have a sense about that?
Yeah, I think we feel very empowered. Definitely, they want to coach us up, so to say.
Gordon, I think your internet froze.
Yeah, I think his internet did freeze up.
Yeah. Well, wait, we'll get started in about 2 minutes. So, Asim, I'd love to, even if you want to chat a little bit about who you are, because this is my first time here, I'd love to meet you.
Hi, so I'm actually a grad student right now, and I'm actually doing my master's in computer science at Northwestern.
Nice.
I was just curious about the career fair. I was like, let's just have a look, and I'm really excited to get to meet new personnel, understand their perspectives, learn a bit more about how it's, how everything goes. And I'm really excited for this career fair overall.
Cool. Yeah, and we'll be talking today about, being able to give and get feedback in your career and job growth. So I look forward to it and being with all of you and exploring questions together. All right, well, it is 12, so let's kick us off. I'll do a short introduction of me again. I am Ashley. I am not George Donald. He couldn't be with us today. And welcome, Cecilia. Nice to have you. And I am a ICF PCC certified coach. I am currently doing doctoral studies in human transformation of people with diagnoses or disabilities. And that's a cause really near and dear to my heart, as I'm a person living with a disability. But I also bring my background in marketing and administration executive and a mom to really facilitate the growth of others as I grow myself. So what do you think about being able to get and give feedback in the workplace, and how do you think that might affect your career growth? Hi, Dana. Nice to see you. Anyone have any thoughts on that? Getting and giving feedback in the workplace. Well, I mean, I know for me, I've been able to, the more I'm able to give feedback in the moment, the more I'm able to support the growth of my team, but also the more I'm able to take in feedback and grow myself. I'm stretching beyond what I ever thought possible. And that really talks to the coaching element of growing yourself and your career. Welcome back, Gordon. Welcome back, Gordon. Nice to have you back.
We have an interesting thing that happens in Mexico periodically. They're doing construction somewhere and all the power just went out. That's coming back.
No.
Happening. I'm on my phone and then I'll pick it back up again. I'll be able to pick it up probably in a little bit. But
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
just talking and then I kind of just disappeared. So.
Yeah. So Gordon, I was talking about how imperative coaching, but and when people think about coaching, I don't think they think about career and them as a coach in their career. Can you talk a little bit about the ability to get and give feedback in career?
Absolutely.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome all. I'm glad to see people showing up now. Let me say a little bit about that, Ashley, because I think it's really something that people don't understand. We do coaching work here at Wright, and we have degrees of coach training and coach education in that area. Coaching is not simply a profession that people do. There's many people who do it as that's their primary work, but it's a dimension of many, many jobs. More and more now, when you think of even as a teacher, when you're educating, engaging with them to draw them out and explore what they know.
Gordon cut out a little bit, but Gordon was speaking to exploring what they know and really like tapping into their yearnings. So we talk about the evaluating model in human transformation, and I think Gordon was talking to getting to know a person's yearnings or motivations behind what they do, and tapping into that can really encourage someone to grow and perform better, but it can also, if we look at ourselves through that lens, we can do the same. Gordon, are you back with us? No. So Robin, you said, I love how feedback at work is given and how it's delivered is really important. And yes, that is so true. Can you speak a little bit more about that?
Sure. I noticed.
Go ahead, Robin, please. Yeah.
Oh, I noticed at work a couple of times I've received, I guess not technical feedback, but just, doing a task and having my supervisor bring it back to me. And there were things in the mannerisms and the attitude that kind of triggered mom stuff. And it was really incredible to notice that and to like process that into a professional mindset to where I could really accept the feedback that I was getting in the way that I should.
Yeah, and you spoke to a really important element that sometimes we might project, our mom or our dad onto our boss, and then our reactions don't really warrant like what was said, don't really match what was said. So I think that's great that you were able to catch that and reframe that in the moment. And that's so important. So thank you for that. Who else?
Well, I'm not sure, but well, if I mean, it's like um, if someone gives a feedback, I mean, it's not only based on your performance, like it's not only going to be based on your performance and your skills. I mean, it's also going to be relevant to the company's performance overall. So
Mm.
if you get a positive feedback, yeah, it will boost confidence in you. You'll probably do stuff that in a better way, in a more organized way. Like for example, if someone tells you, hey, I really like the way you actually manage your time in getting this specific work done, and not only makes you a better person, but it actually helps in in maintaining the relationship with your coworkers as well. And it actually boosts confidence overall. So that's one major point I've learned when I was working at a company earlier.
So Asim, that's a great point. And I think you're right. When you have an affirming context that really supports the positives, that really helps. But I'm also curious, we make the distinction between positive and negative feedback. And what we have found is that as long as you're orienting toward the vision of someone's possibility to do better, what looks like negative or critical feedback can also be very positive in a sense. I'm wondering if you could speak to that at all, or if you have a sense of how critical feedback can also be supportive.
So critical feedback is probably like it's more like like they have so many benefits, to be honest. And one of the critical benefits is that if you're given one specific negative feedback, like let's say that someone says that, hey, probably he's not that organized, or he's not the deadline to submit the specific work was 11 p.m. and now he's submitting at 12 a.m. and at 1 p.m. and now we have to probably talk to the company which we are in contact with to distribute the product is probably going to have a nightmare, and so on and so on. But that negative feedback that you got, it'll actually help in reducing the repetition of incorrect tasks.
Mhm.
I mean, it'll help you in it's like you might fall, but you get back on the horse, you try to improve yourself, and after you improve yourself, I'm pretty sure that specific person who actually gave you a negative feedback will actually feel that he actually took my feedback and built on it. So that's one of the things I'm guessing that could be it.
Thank you. And as Asim, you're on the call today, what is it that you're wanting in terms of support today for yourself?
Oh, I'm actually doing my master's in Northwestern, and I know that stress management, time management, and a couple of other stuff is very important. So I'm very curious about the career fair overall, and I actually saw that it's an event, so I was curious overall, and I look forward to strengthening my professional development skills, along with getting to know a few people as well.
Well, thank you. Thank you for participating. Appreciate it. And one of the things we were just talking about at our graduate university last weekend is the distinction between stress that actually is debilitating and stress that actually heightens performance. And we have Dr. Maddie, if you're familiar with him, Salvador Maddie, has written a number of books on what's called resilience. And his study began by when they were doing an in-depth study at Illinois Bell Telephone way back in the 80s, that they were looking at some employees just really crumbled under the stress, and it was clearly a negative factor, but some of them actually seemed to heighten their performance, and they wanted to see what the differences were that explained that. And he came up with a set of variables that had to do with what we now call resilience. And the people who had the most resilience to stress were able to see problems as challenges. I think he had a model of what he calls the 3 C's, commitment, challenge, and I'm not sure what the other one was, but the bigger thing, the thing that I recall was the ability to see the opportunity in a stressor and the positive intent or the thing that it could help you develop, rather than seeing it as a source of an inconvenience or a negative that would make you less motivated. So I think it's a very rich area, very complicated, very complex in terms of when is our stress debilitating and when is it enhancing, and being able to manage our own stress levels. So I think it's a great topic to be looking at. I appreciate you bringing it in.
Yes, thank you. Who else? Do we have any other questions?
Yeah. One thing we like to do is kind of level set periodically. Ashley, as we're looking at, just to remind everybody, this is Wednesday Career Lab, Career Group, and we have people coming in, both streaming from LinkedIn and also live on the Zoom. We love to have people on the Zoom because then you can participate directly. You can comment in the chat if you've got a question that you'd like. And also Jane Coletto will be taking any questions that come from the streaming online from LinkedIn, and we'll pass this on to Ashley and myself for us to be able to support you. So feel free to put in your chat or whatever. Go ahead, Ashley. Yeah.
So Cynthia, I see your question, and I've been seeing a trend on LinkedIn to list under your employers what the company does as opposed to what your position and responsibilities are. Can you speak to that in terms of why I am seeing this shift and what are the pros and cons?
Great question. So let me say a little bit about that. First of all, people, you want your resume to reflect your own story about your competence and your ability as you're on your journey toward what you're orienting to for your next position. So if the fact that you were involved in a particular industry or a company that's directly related to the kind of work you want to do, featuring that really becomes an added feature. If they say, oh, that person worked in, let's say, transportation at a major company that's one of the best known in that area, or maybe one that has done some exceptional work, that's only going to strengthen your resume. So in the cases like that, it makes absolute sense to do that. We recommend a short sentence about that, also a short sentence about the overall responsibility you had or the purpose of your position that you had, which is also a way to frame all the bullet points that you put in your resume. So it gives them a little more context to know what you've been doing, as opposed to just, it makes a difference if you accomplished something in the technology sector working perhaps at Google that you'd want to really feature, that if it was a small startup at tech, it might not have the same impact. So I hope that helps. How does that sit in terms of your question? Does that address your concern?
It does. Thank you.
Great.
And Gordon, I'm also sensing a trend, and you know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sensing a trend that companies are looking to hire humans who are passionate, who care. And I think that the trend speaks directly to that. You know, it's not, yes, it is about how you can perform a job, but it's about the whole person.
Great, absolutely. I have to say, I noticed Luis Marrero, who is a good friend of mine, who's on our call today. So hi, Luis, good to see you. Welcome.
Hello, welcome, Bill. Nice to see you with us.
Yeah, Luis is, by the way, Luis is a specialist in the area of meaning and work, and really studies that. He's written on that topic and is very passionate about that. Luis, you want to say a little bit about what you're here for and how we can support you?
Just here to listen to what the concerns are, the questions that people come up with. So I do a lot of career planning myself. So I'm just fascinated by the topic. Very happy to hear how people are addressing the issues or the concerns that they have. I like your comment, Ashley, in terms of thinking of the person as a human being, not just a role. And there's a lot around identity theory that makes a differentiation between a person as a human being, a default, default person. We all play roles in life: husband, employer, leader, member of the church. We all have roles. And what happens is, if we see one another just from that role perspective, there's a risk of dehumanizing the individual, because the individual's worth is based on what he or she can do, the worth of the role, what they can contribute. And we can forget the person behind that role, occupying that role. And it's that person that is what you're actually trying to create conditions to motivate that person to be his or her best. But if we focus just on the role component, there's that risk that you can dehumanize, how you approach career planning.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And you're also speaking to, like, if we look at the Avalating model of human transformation, you're speaking to a person's unique yearnings or hungers and ways that they wish to contribute in life. And then as they engage these are the first two levels of Avalating, by the way. As they engage in their life to really follow those yearnings and make the biggest contribution they can in every day.
Yes.
Robin, I don't think any idea like that is a dumb idea. So I think that's actually a very good idea. Robin was speaking to incorporating comments from my bosses during annual reviews, kind of like an Amazon review. I think, Robin, this speaks directly to who you are in the workplace and how you interact with people, as well as get things done. And I think this talks to the whole human aspect of career. So I love that.
Sorry, I was pulled away for a little bit here. We've got electrical work going on in our colonia here in San Miguel. So periodically I may lose internet, as they say. So we'll see what happens.
No worries, we'll roll
Hopefully
with
it's
it.
all for the good. So better service at the end. So cool. So yeah, so our topic is open today. We're looking at, for some of you who may have joined late, we're looking at coaching as a dimension of careers and how we take in feedback and how good we are at giving feedback to help people grow and develop. So we're interested in hearing about your experiences with that or any support you'd like about that. But we're also open to any career question that you currently have. If you've got an interview tomorrow and you want to get some interview support, or if you're looking at a conversation with your boss that you need to deal with and you're not sure what you want to say, anything's on the table. So please just feel free to jump in with any questions you might have or contribution you'd like to make.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, who was that?
Oh, man. Yeah, most definitely. I just got through driving. I just had to drive real slow, man,
Wait, Tyrone, is that,
Well,
are you on mute here, or are you wanting something, or are you talking to
Can I
somebody
give you a ring back? Okay, bye-bye.
Tyrone, do you have a question?
I think he was just talking to somebody else, but Tyrone's been on the call before. Good to hear from you, Tyrone. And let us know what's going on and how we can help you. I know he's got some interviews going on right now.
All right. Welcome, Tiffany. I see that you just recently joined. Nice to see you.
Oh, good. Hi, Tiffany. Okay. So for those of you who are on, if you can go on mute, if you've got background noise going on or other communications, please do that so that we don't have that affect the conversation here. So.
Okay.
Bill, I see that you raised your hand. Do you have a question?
Sure. Well, it's not, perhaps some feedback, not totally in line with the topic of today, but kind of builds on Luisa's introduction. Hello, Luis. Nice to meet you and see you. I find myself in a career. I'm in the later half of probably the later third of my career, and made a career change for purpose, making substantially less money than I've done, but in a community building role, reaching out to others who actually pay to be members of my organization, not mine, but the consortium I work with. And so my job is to build community among their employees and help them. And I find myself, so great purpose. I love community building. I love coaching on a professional level on the particular domain that I work in, which is marketing, and trying to help those people and those companies in what they're doing. So it's kind of consultative, but it's purely, they need to accept the outreach and the hand to them. They pay for membership and they've got access. And I find myself really frustrated and probably some anger inside of me that I've made this change, and for the last year in this role, the engagement from the community has been like pulling teeth. And it's not them, right? It's the circumstance of COVID. Companies are heads down and really busy. And it just is amazing to me that I wish I had a resource like what I'm trying to give them in my career early on, and building networking and connection. And it's just an interesting turn where I'm at with this. I'm living what I thought I wanted to in terms of purpose. I mean, I am, but it's so frustrating to try to build that community,
Bill,
which is actually undermining my joy in the mission.
First of all, I just want to acknowledge you for the change you've made and following what you really care about and stepping into it. So kudos to you for taking on that challenge. So I'm curious, where do you see the breakdown in engagement happening from the client side or the participant side? What are you noticing about where they're not being engaged or motivated? What do you think's going on there?
I mean, it starts from the organization I usually have a main contact in management who's supposed to be the main contact. But these are large companies. Most of them are very large companies. So it starts with not even getting responses to outreach, emails, phone calls, attempts to meet in person. They're just so heads down that I am a distraction, even though I'm a paid resource for that company, for them and their entire department. And it blows my mind. And you know, I'm not talking like 1 or 2 emails. I'm talking over a year, a dozen, 2 dozen emails and outreach, trying to build that connection so that they can even learn what's available to them.
Well, I'm curious in this situation. You're talking to a high-level management person about the managing and the employees, right? The employee
Yes.
community. Maybe there's a disconnect within those organizations between the management and where the people are. Is it possible for you to be able to connect at a deeper level, closer to where the real concerns are?
Yes, and I do a lot of that. The issue is I've got 90 companies, so the outreach. I mean, it's like a never-ending. It's a rabbit hole with no end if I allow it to be. So I do tend to get traction at the lower level, but then there's still that commitment that I need to get. We put on events and host things and do some high touch consulting type work, low level consulting, but it's tons of resources, and those low level people, they're not the ones to take advantage of that. Or so it's just an interesting, from a personal career perspective, of trying to live in my purpose, and yet I feel I wake up with anger at times, or I have meetings that I go into, and I'm baffled by that. So that's more just sharing that.
It's a great question. I'd love to hear other people's perspective on that also. But let me first of all just share, as I mentioned, one of our doctoral students is doing a study of frontline workers.
Welcome, Joe.
And the initiative of the company is to empower their frontline workers to be owners of the process that you're talking about, owners of the development of their teams and solving the problems, rather than the employee mentality of waiting for management to tell them what to do. And so it's a really exciting initiative that they're looking at there. And it's in the beginning phases, but they've been working at this for 15 years and they're still like, just like here, not out here. So it's a slow process, but I think it's speaking to what you're referring to is where the real initiatives. In this case, it's a union shop also. So sometimes the union groups are more willing to resonate with what you're talking about because they feel the pain more of the frontline workers more. So I don't know if that's an opportunity, but I'd love to hear other people's thoughts about it. If other people have dealt with this kind of situation of how you reach the people who are actually in the most pain or the most discomfort or need the most support in an organization when there's a disconnect sometimes between them and higher level management. Have any of you lived in that situation, perhaps? Might even read about it somewhere. I don't know.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tyrone, yeah.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Ashley.
Hello.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I had someone on the other line.
Okay. No
Yeah,
problem.
I haven't talked to in a while. Yeah, um, I'm kind of what the gentleman said earlier. I'm kind of little on the path where he's at, but on a better scale, if that makes sense. Uh, I had an interview for an IT technician position about 3 weeks ago, and it went really well. I even um, interviewed on my off day, and the recruiter he thanked me um, for me just just having just buying the time, having time on my off day to interview for the position, and uh, I was given a 2 day notice. Believe it or not, of when the interview was going to happen. I was like, oh wow, I have only 2 days to prepare. But if that's what it takes, and the real scenario about it is I work overnights and weekends. So my schedule, my sleep habits and stuff like that is kind of off, but
So Tyrone, what's the support you need today about that? Where are you in that process and how can we help you?
well, I did call last week. I mean, I've been applying for other positions as well in IT because I want to get back into IT because I have a passion for IT. And I did call last week and asked them about because it was a question that I have in regards to the culture.
I remember you
Uh,
talking about that.
Yeah, and I wanted, and he had told me about the culture, but I was doing something else. I think I was writing something else down and literally forgot. But I was told to just call back and ask them what type of culture that they have. And he did tell me they have like a positive mentorship culture, which is good. And
Mhm.
I can feel I can feel as though he could be the type of mentor that I need.
Cool.
And he also said they're going through transitional CIO, new development program, which uh, they just recently acquired a new CIO, which is fabulous.
So,
And
so what's your situation with regard to your opportunity in terms of getting this position? What's the next step?
well, everything. I mean, we talked about salary, which is good. And we talked about, and he asked me a few technical questions. I say I answered 3 out of 4 technical questions. So I'm just kind of in the waiting game right now, but I'm still putting applications in
Good.
as well. But just piggying back what the gentleman said earlier, um, it's kind of like is it a disconnect between the hiring team and the recruiter? Uh, and that's what it and it gets and like the gentleman Bill said earlier, and that could be frustrating.
Yeah, let me speak to that a bit if I can, Tyrone, because that's a huge issue in all job searches.
Right.
Is particularly when you're going through the HR department or the recruiting department, what you really want to do is be able to get directly to the hiring manager and have the conversation.
Right.
So that way you can get past all those bridges. Now, you're already in a process where you're going to have to wait a bit, I suspect. You're kind of already in the queue. But generally speaking, for a lot of, when people are looking at their job search, we really encourage it to not just be to apply through the HR departments, but also do personal networking into the organizations where you want to work. So you can bypass HR. Now, listen, I love HR. I've worked with HR. I have nothing negative to say about HR people. Some of them are my best friends, whatever. So, but I have to say their job is to rule out people. That's what they're doing. They're the screening function. They want to hand the best candidates, but to them, the best candidate is the one that matches most specifically with the job they're hiring for. So they may miss the person. To Ashley's points earlier, and I think someone else was saying this as well, you can miss Luis as well, you can miss the person by being so focused on the job requirements. And when you're personally interviewing and you're networking, you come across as you, and your particular gifts and interests come across more directly. So you may establish the connection that could lead to the job that you might not otherwise get through HR. And that's just an important thing to understand, that to really encourage everybody who's looking for work to be also doing that personal networking. So
Right. And one more thing I have to add, I did reach out to one of their employees.
good.
Yeah. And
Good move.
and she just basically told me, but she said just, hey, they give you assignment, do it, go home. You know, your job. I mean, just basically, I'm not going to give the entire detail of about the organization, but that's what she just basically said. And we talked about other things outside of the position, and you know, her community, her
I
community.
would say keep one thing about job searches, make sure you're generating other opportunities as well. This one
Right.
sounds like it could have its own issues. So you want to keep making sure you're out there with, doing that. So appreciate your engaging with this.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Thank you.
Tyrone.
thank you, Ash.
So just to recalibrate here, we're in Career Wednesday. We meet every Wednesday from 12 to 1 to support people in their career development. Any issue on the table is fair game. Joe, good to see you on the screen. I just saw you there, so good to have you on board. Robin and a lot of familiar faces, Tiffany. So we're here to support you. And one of the beliefs that we have, and Siddiqui, hello, good to see you as well. We believe that our careers are an instrument and a catalyst for our personal development and growth, and vice versa, that as we engage in our personal growth and development, we enhance our careers. So this took, for us, career is really not just a job, it's actually an opportunity for you. Our careers put us in situations where we're challenged in ways that we aren't in other areas of our life. And we are then put in a pressure situation often where we have an opportunity to grow in ways we might not have done before. So I can't say that enough. That's a big reason why I'm here, because I see career as a very important part of personal growth work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shahid?
Yes, Tyrone, I have a comment that Gordon was just talking about your job. One of the things after the interview is to tell the hiring manager that you are really interested in that specific job. What happens is that people assume that you are maybe trying at several places and this is just casual. You are not really so much honed on that. It's very specific to tell exactly that you are extremely excited about that specific job and that you have a passion to do that. Because what happens for an HR, they get a lot of people, but they are just sort of, yes, I'm also interested. But that's not enough to get you recruited. What you need to do is really go ahead and say, this is the job that I'm really looking for. I'm looking for the mentorship. I'm the right person to do the job, and I've got all the credentials to do a fantastic job here. So that's the follow-up that you need to do for any job.
Yes. And you're exactly right, Shahid. If I can speak to this a little bit, I was hiring someone earlier this week, and what made them the right candidate was sharing how aligned they were with the mission and with, their own growth, and just really speaking to how their purpose and mission in life tied to the companies and match the company's values. And that's really what made me make the decision to fast track their hire.
Cool.
Right. Thank
Good.
you.
Yeah.
And I thank you guys, because I did reach out to them and let them know that I'm very enthusiastic about the position, because that's part of my character. I'm very enthusiastic, and I like to make people laugh, and just to get their minds off of whatever's going on. But I appreciate it. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Taron, what you have to do is really tell them that you are very excited about solving their problem.
Right.
So I think it's good to make them laugh, but I think the highlight here is that you are competent and excited and passionate about solving the problem of the company
Right.
where you are applying for. That's the key. So
Thank
you
you.
have to be giver. You say that I can contribute to you. I'm not going to be enriched myself, but more than that, I'm going to help the company to solve their problems.
Right. Right. Thank you. Thank you.
For those of you who don't know, Shahid is an example of this in his own career, as he went back at a later date after quite an illustrious career in many different fields, and just said, I'm the guy. I'm here to help you guys. I'll take a job just
Exactly.
to help you do what you need to do. And being a net giver, that's a big theme in our work. And I think that was something that you really exemplified.
Yes.
We're here to contribute and be a giver and contributing to the company that we're wanting to be hired for. And that comes across.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks, Gordon. And I really appreciate this Wright Institute and the workshops, because that really taught that the difference between a just application and a successful application is how you show that you are a contributor, that you are a giver. And I thank Gordon and Dawn for their help in shaping my ideas about that. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions, or what's stirred for you all on the call, and who else would like some support? One thing you find is that you're listening to other people that'll stir up stuff for yourself that you haven't maybe thought about. So one of the things that really helps the Career Lab work on Wednesdays is as you're listening to somebody else, like Tyrone was saying, and resonates for you, how can, it might bring up something for you that you can also benefit from for yourself. So encourage any contribution of people that might like to share.
Yeah.
Well, if I may, I can update you all on some of the things going on.
Good, thanks,
I
Joe.
think-
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah. For the chief position, they finally came out with a date for the written exam. So that's going to be in about 2 weeks. So I'm preparing for that. But in the meantime, I had my alumni university wanted to hire me on full-time, but I convinced them that it'd probably be better for me to come on part-time because I'm still waiting on this police chief thing in the future. So I didn't want to contribute too much or overwhelm, the university by coming on there. And then maybe if I got the job, I'd have to quit. And so I didn't want to overwhelm their HR department and other things, and create an environment that, here I am working really hard for you guys part-time or full-time. And then I just leave, within a couple of months. So I didn't want to put them through that. So I said, I'll come in part-time and work so many hours a month, a week. And then if all goes well with the police chief thing, then it's easier for me to break contact.
That's a great
But they
move.
were very happy to have me on. They part-time or full-time for them was okay. They wanted me to come on board and help them with some projects. So that's what I'm doing.
That's a great move, Joe. It also shows you as someone who's actively engaging and contributing. You're not just sitting back and waiting for the opportunity. You're also contributing in another area. It tells a lot about who you are and the kind of man you are and the kind of leader you are. So it's going to serve you in a lot of ways. So well done. Congratulations. Good
I
move.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. And this is, by the way, Joe has been looking at this chief of police job for now about 6 months.
Oh, wow.
These things move slowly. I mean, when you're in the government work or high bureaucracies, higher level positions, The time to fill a position can be 6, 9 months is not unusual at all. So the
Yeah.
higher up you are in an organization, the more challenging that can be. So good for you for just hanging in there and going with the flow and still finding ways to contribute. So
Yeah, I appreciate that. The public and the community at large are not happy that it's going to take a full year to get this process done.
I'm sure they're not.
Because they've looked at other departments in other cities and they said, well, you did it in 2 months. Why are you taking a year? But you're absolutely right. There are processes that need to go through, and they want to make sure that they get the right person in the job because of some things that have happened to previous chiefs. And so they want to make sure they're not
Well,
making a
Joe,
mistake.
if you need a recommendation, just tell them to call me. I'll tell them you're the right guy.
I wish it was that simple. I appreciate it.
And Joe, I did want to tie this back again to the evaluating model. Like, you're not staying stuck, you're still moving and engaging in your career and in your life and making those choices, and yet being true and authentic to what you really desire and want in your career. So way to go for that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate it.
Thinking
I got to meet some of my high school classmates last week on a retirement party, and everyone was asking me, why do you want to be the next police chief? Or you're at a certain age, you've already, you've held the highest position you could at your previous employment or career. Why do you want to do that? And I said, because I have to. I have to serve. I continue to serve. I enjoy it. It's my passion. And so, yeah, it was interesting trying to repeat this answer 20 times to 20 different individuals. And
Joe, I understand. I come up with the same thing. I'm surrounded by people who are retired. They wonder why I'm not retired. I tell them, I'm not. First of all, in Spanish, the word for retirement is jubilación, jubilation. So I'm already in jubilación, so I don't need to retire. But yeah, there's still stuff to do. The whole third of life, and what are we about? And the idea that it's not just sitting back and having margaritas, but it's also about contributing and growing and learning. And it's the time, we're finally been around long enough. We have enough insight. We might actually have something to share, so let's keep
that's absolutely true.
And I think, Joe, you were speaking to what Bill was mentioning earlier. Like, he's in his third of his career and doing what he loves, and he wants to serve as well. And sometimes he, like in Bill's case, he's struggling with reaching the people and getting that. So
thanks for circling back on that, Ashley, because I think Bill, your challenge is really, it's so what can I say? It's perfect in a way. It's challenging you to come up with, how do I actually fulfill the mission of where I am? And looking at all the barriers to what gets in the way of that, and thinking out of the box, finding ways to be innovative, and taking that anger and channeling it into a purposeful activity is a big thing we work on in our personal growth work. So this is a great opportunity for the career can really be a catalyst for that as well. Yeah, Saeed.
Yeah, so I have a comment here, and the comment is for Joe and other senior people, and actually for everybody else. It's about the nervous system. The brain that we have is actually made of circuitry that is based on these neuronal connections called synapses. And these synapses actually get trained by the stimulus that you receive on a regular basis. So if you're a senior person, it's important to be engaged and challenge yourself to keep those synaptic firing continuous and your brain circuits active. If you do not do that, if you are sort of so-called retired or rehabilitation that Gordon was talking about, those circuits start becoming weak and you start forgetting your own identity in a way. You go to a path of dementia and so on and so forth. So even for younger people, it's very important to be challenging themselves for all the tasks that are available around them. And for senior people, it's very important to sort of even more pursue the highest thing or the most challenging thing that they can do. And so even, at a very senior age, I'm still trying to do things that were impossible, like deep learning or machine learning or artificial intelligence, that was just sort of never heard of even 5 years ago. So it's like you just really challenge yourself to the best, and that really keeps you motivated and excited. So it's
Absolutely.
very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Shahid.
Yeah,
I have to
thank
tell
you.
one of the things that I've taken more joy in than almost anything in the last couple of years is learning Spanish. The myth was that I couldn't learn Spanish as a man in my age. You know, it's like, you can't learn another foreign language. Luis, you'll be proud of me. I'm actually now speaking more frequently in all the meetings. My wife, who's more fluent in Spanish, is saying, way to go. So it's been, and it's true. I can feel the building of synapses that would not otherwise. It took time. It took a lot of practice. It took a lot of repetition, but it's getting there. So yeah, it's if you lose it, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? Use it or lose it, right?
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is challenging yourself in your job or in your life is like going to the gym for your brain.
Yes, yes.
And
So,
go ahead.
I'm wondering if you could sort of say a little bit about what some of the activities are that we have coming up. I know we've got something on neuroscience that we're doing. We've got the More Life training. Could you just sort of let people know what activities that are coming up that they might want to be aware of for anything they might, maybe, and Jane, you could probably put these in the chat as well. So that would be helpful.
Sure. So we've got More Life training, which is our, I would say, intense emotional intelligence day and a half. And it's happening March 18th and 19th. And I'd invite anyone who hasn't come to join. And if you have come already, to come assist, because, you know, we're always learning and growing. And let me pull up some of the other events because I actually don't have them in front of me, Gordon.
Let me just say, Ashley's one of the team leads on that event. This event is our signature entree. It's free. It's a signature entree into our work, but it directly relates to career. It's all about social emotional intelligence. It's about being able to be aware of yourself in key situations and how to work with those and doing your own kind of deep work in that area. So it's a really rich experience, and it's just if you want to just understand what we're talking about at a deeper level, it's a really deep dive into that work. And Ashley's one of the team leads that we don't just, it's a webinar. It's still Zoom. It's down to a day and a half instead of 2 days or 2.5, which is what it was. But it's very engaging. It's very much teamwork in the process, learning in small groups and learning for yourself and applying what you're learning in the moment. And it will have direct impact on your effectiveness in your career. I can guarantee you that.
Yes, yes. I mean, I know it made a huge difference for me. I wouldn't be here and be a coach had I not attended that workshop. So Gordon, I am not getting our events and I apologize.
So, oh, actually, maybe if you can access our new website that has all the listed things, that would be good. If you've got that.
I am working on that.
Okay, as you're digging into that, let's see if we've got a few more minutes here to hear of any other questions that might be coming up from a career perspective that you're curious about or want to jump in or ask about. Please go right ahead. How can we serve you here? I'm curious. I want to ask Cynthia. I've seen you here on the video, and I'm just wondering. I don't think we've met. I'm just curious what brings you here.
Oh, hi. Actually, you answered my question earlier about the LinkedIn profiles.
Ah, okay. Oh, good, good. Well, good to have you here.
Thank you. Good to be here. Actually, I have one question for Ashley. On the website, are the times for the events that are listed like in Central Time or like for Chicago? Is that right?
They are in Central Time, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And we do our next, aside from our More Life training, we have an evening workshop that is called Beyond Positive Thinking. So it ties directly about what we were talking about today with the feedback that you can get at work. And really, I see it as turning a negative into positive. So using that kind of more critical feedback to grow yourself in your career and in who you are.
Right. I think there's another one that Judith is doing also about, if I'm not mistaken, about purpose. I'm not sure, the neuroscience of purpose. I'm not sure if that's the one, but if you can.
That actually, I believe, already happened, but we do have one called The Power of Authenticity coming up on March 24th, and that ties directly to what we were talking about as well today, too, being your authentic self. And then for those who are interested, we do have more couples focused seminars that, you know, if you want to bring your significant other or yourself to our couples work, our next one is next week. Or actually, we have two. We have one tonight and we have one next week from 8 p.m. to 8:45. One of them tonight is Break Free from Dirty Deals. And next week is Who's That in Your Bed? So that's what this ties directly to what we talked about earlier. So when you hear feedback, you might hear your mom or dad. That happens in marriage too.
Could you say a little bit about dirty deals? Because people may not know what that's about. And we all have relationships where we have, quote, dirty deals going on, even in our work with our bosses or colleagues. Could you say a little bit about that, Ashley?
Sure. So dirty deals are like when we create unconscious agreements with people, be it our boss, our coworkers. Like I know I manage people. So I might unconsciously react differently to someone's behavior, to two people's behavior, given what I think or know about them. So in that way, that's a dirty deal. So I'm working to unprogram myself in that way.
Let me just add to that a little bit. What I'm hearing in Ashley's example is, if you're interested in managing someone, sometimes you're not going to be just totally transparent about everything you want to say. You're going to manage to a result you want. And this happens all the time in the workplace. So the dirty deal is, I'm not going to actually tell you everything I'd want to say about your work and what I think you could do better, whatever, because I need you to get this result. So I'm going to sort of put that aside and sort of talk about the things that can get things done. So I'm not really being as fully authentic or honest with you about my full honest engagement with you. So that's what we call a dirty deal. And the ideal, we believe, is that you can be your authentic self in relationships at work, which many people don't believe. People are used to having to have managed relationships and a lot of dirty deals to get through the day. And we believe that a workforce that really encourages personal authenticity is a much more fulfilling place to be, much more satisfying, and actually you get much better results from people as well. So that's the issue. That if you want to explore those kind of issues, as you can see, career blends into relationships, into couples, and a lot of other places. So cool.
Yep.
So,
you know, as I've heard said before, wherever you go, there you are, whether it's in your career, in your marriage, in everyday relationships, you bring yourself wherever you are. So
thank you. First of all, I want to thank Ashley for being here today. George Donald had a bit of a physical injury. I think he was playing basketball beyond his practice level, thinking he was an NBA understudy, as opposed, we're playing with some pretty aggressive guys, and suffered a little bit of a setback. So he wasn't able to be here today. Our thoughts go with him, and I really appreciate you, Ashley, for stepping in for George Donald and being our support for today as well.
Yeah, and thank you all so much for having me and being with me today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we have a few more minutes. Is there anyone else who want to take advantage of this time while we've got it? Tyrone, sure, go ahead.
Well, that's great. We talk about dirty deals. What if you're a person, because my character, I've been told by one person that I just did an event a couple of months ago and it went fantastic. But in the process of doing the event, one of the, I would say the ladies, one of the ladies that helped assist me with the event, she told me one day, she said, it's not real good to be blunt with people. And it kind of stuck with me when she said that, because a lot of people don't like bluntness, if that make sense.
Mhm.
How and my character, it's kind of where I used to be shy growing up, but it's like I'm coming out of more and more of my shyness.
Good for you. Good for you. So it's
Yeah,
a great question. And, this is where we get into the area of social emotional intelligence. It's like,
right, right,
um, we have these labs where we practice letting people express all the stuff they never expressed before, all the blunt things that have been afraid to say. You've got a safe environment where you can do that and you can learn and grow from that. So there's a lot of advantage in having that kind of safety. In work environments, you kind of need to be able to read the context very carefully. Sometimes blunt is fine and sometimes it's not. It depends on the relationship, the context, what's the norm that they're expecting in terms of communication. So one of the big challenges we have in our work is when people are learning, when they're coming out of their shells like you are, Tyrone, which is great, by the way, because you're becoming more you, which is going to make you more satisfied and a better worker all the way around.
right.
You can also create a lot of havoc in that process. So having a place to kind of practice that and sort of take in the feedback. So there's a good example of some critical feedback that you got that you might want to look at and say, well, tell me more. What about that being blunt in that situation? What was it that caused you to want to address this with me? And then maybe you'll hear something that will cause you to rethink that, or maybe you'll tell something to her that it's a good conversation, and it's again, taking feedback, working from that, learning and growing from it. So
Thank you, because this is awesome. Because I just had a friend of mine call me, and we're planning on doing a podcast, but it was just some stuff that happened in between those conversations, and I've kind of pulled back on it, but he just called me just a second ago, and it just and I know I read about emotional intelligence. You have to step back, and even you have to challenge your own ways of thinking.
absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that really, I read about that the other day, and that really sparked me. It's
Good.
sparked.
It's always disconcerting to discover that our own mental thoughts about what we think is the best way to do things could be really off.
Yeah.
Right. Because I can't be blunt. I think I got that from my father.
All right.
Because he was a minister.
You got
He was a minister. He was feedback, and he was supportive, but blunt at times.
Well, I can bet as a minister also, he had a context that gave him some room to really do a lot more than he might be able.
And that's what and people were like, you should. I'm like, oh no, because I don't personally I don't like being woke at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. That's just
Absolutely. Well, listen,
Well,
we're
I
up
think-
to time here, I think. So let's actually look at wrapping up, Ashley, but go ahead. Good.
Well, I just wanted to say, I think you, Tyrone and Gordon, you are underlining something that's really important in the job search, which is curiosity. So tell me more about that, and asking questions and being open and curious to the answers, and keep digging in.
thank you.
Thank you all. Well, we're at time right now, so
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. Have a great week. Good luck with your careers. Thanks, Louise, for being here, everybody.
Thank you, Luis.
And we
Thank
will
you so much,
see you
all.
next week. Thank you,
Bye.
Ashley.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.